try and say, well, it's said in other parts of the world, so I'm not sorry.
I think
that doesn't tell me what you think.
Then you need to understand why my content existed in the first place. My content existed because I tried my very hardest to be an absolute and utter realist, especially with uncomfortable truths. I was pointing out that very uncomfortable.
Is that a truth?
It's an uncomfortable truth in many parts of the world. It's not a truth that I'm happy about.
An inquest this week found that a 14-year-old girl...
Okay, did you see that? That's the jump cut right there. They're a little bit better than most. That's the jump cut. There was actually more to that conversation than that, but this is part of the jump cut that gets pushed into the short form video. By the way, there is the 30-second clip, which of course is what they're really after. But that jump cut right there, did you notice that jump cut? Here, let me back that up just 2 seconds here. Here we go. Look at this.
Truth that I'm happy about.
An inquest this week found that...
There it is. Truth that I'm happy about. That, yeah.
A 14-year-old girl, Molly Russell, died from an act of self-harm while suffering from depression and the negative effects of online content. The coroner said she was exposed to material that may have influenced her in a negative way, and in addition, what started as depression had become a much more serious depressive illness, and she very sadly took her life.
Right. Okay. That's very tragic, but you know what? 3.5 to men kill themselves at 3.5 to 5, depending on whose numbers you got, 3.5 to 5 times more often than women do. It's only remarkable because it's something that is relatable to what Andrew's been talking about. Now, Andrew, again, drops the ball here. I wish I had, I kind of wish I had been a coach or something for him at this point. But again, irrelevant to what he's talking about. So he's responsible. Because that's what we're trying to, that's what Pierce is trying to conflate. You're indirectly responsible for this little girl's suicide. And first of all, what's the coroner saying? The coroner gets to go, suicide, not suicide. How did she die? She hung herself, she shot herself, she took sleeping pills, whatever. That's what the coroner says. Coroner doesn't go, well, seems to me I just looked through her cell phone. It looks like there's a lot of Andrew Tate videos on there, and that kind of drove her to shoot herself or whatever. No, that's not there, man. That right there, you did nail his ass on that. God damn it, man. Why not?
That's absolutely disgusting.
Right. Her father,
that's terrible.
Her father's campaign for better protections against potentially dangerous social media algorithms, right? It says that the particularly...
Social media algorithms. What is that? The only social media algorithm I know is the YouTube algorithm, the Instagram algorithm, the Twitter algorithm. Those aren't dangerous. If anything, they're choking the life out of open debate. They're choking the life out of critical thinking. They're choking the life out of free speech. Where is that? Like that? I would have nailed them on that. What do you mean? What do you mean algorithms? Because the algorithm right now is overwhelmingly ideological from the wokesy side of everything.
Graphic content. She saw romanticized acts of self-harm, normalized her condition, and focused on a limited and irrational view without any counterbalance of normality.
Sounds like she's got a real problem. That has nothing to do with Andrew Tate. Sounds like she's got really psychological problems. Maybe it was something that her mom and her dad should have been aware of. Maybe it was something that maybe they needed to worry about her mental health. Maybe if they had been a little bit more involved parents, then this wouldn't have happened. There's a million other ways you can go with this. And they all sound like shit. They all do. Like if I were to go on there and say, you know what, anything could have contributed to that. Like I remember, and I wish I would have used this, but when I was on the debate with Ruslan on Adam Sosnick's show, it's like he was throwing a similar argument at me, and in hindsight, when I watched the replay of that, I'm like, yeah, well, we know. I mean, do violent video games create mass killers? Does heavy metal music? Does Marilyn Manson? Judas Priest turn guys and men into young boys to murder? Because there's robust research that disproves that theory. Period. So that's where you should have gone with that tape. But of course, it's an ambush. It's a complete ambush, and it's all, again, what does this have to do with anything? Instead of why are you so popular? Instead of how come I have you on this damn show in the first place, because nobody even knew who you were up until like about 6 or 8 months ago. Instead of asking those questions, it's like, oh, this poor little girl. Oh yeah, that's tragic. Great, but it has nothing to do with me.
First of all, what is your response to that? Nothing to do with you.
That's the first thing. Yeah, it is nothing to do with me. The fact that a 14-year-old girl took her...
but we're going to go waste, I don't know, another like 5 minutes trying to defend myself against something that has nothing to do with me. But you're implying that it does have something to do with me, because if you weren't, you wouldn't have brought it up in the first place, Piers.
Life is truly sad. The world we live in today is the world we live in. The fact that something like that happened is almost mind-blowing to me. That's truly sad. I actually feel sad inside to see something like that.
What has come
Jump cut.
clear to me in the interview is that a lot of things you say you wouldn't say now that you've said before.
But I'd say them differently, perhaps.
Yeah.
Okay, so what he's trying to do, once again, force contrition. So now you're different. Now you're reformed. Is there anything you want to apologize to us all? Because this is remember what they always say, like, never apologize? Because the moment you apologize to a woke mob, first of all, never apologize, and certainly never apologize for, like, to wokesies. Because the moment you apologize to wokesies, they run you. You're done. It's not what you think is going to have some sort of a good effect. Never does. I mean, that should be standard. I mean, hell, was it even Vox Day as far back as like, what was it? What the hell was his first 2 books? I can't remember what it was. Social Justice Warriors Always Lie, I think is what it was. There was two versions of it, but in that, like, there was a chapter in there that says never apologize to these people. And it should have been, I mean, I don't see how it's not self-evident, but that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to force contrition. He's trying to force and say, okay, you're really regretful of all the things that you've said, right? Right.
So to me, that's an acceptance, not just that you want to get back on platforms, because maybe that was one of the reasons you were no platform, but that you've recognized and understood the potential harm to the wrong kind of impressionable mind by some of the things you've said. Would that be
like this little girl that you're saying has nothing to do with me, but now you're sort of conflating this whole thing with me having some sort of contrition and apology? No, Piers, fuck off. You're a bad debater.
fair?
I think that's 80% fair. I recognize and understand.
God. Andrew. No, it's 100% unfair. It's 100% false. It's 100% a logical fallacy. It's 100% him trying to strawman you and create a character of you that you can become the prodigal son for. And what I mean by that is like, oh, so now you've gone and done all this stuff. You've been kicked off and the world is like really kind of disowned you. But now you want to get back online, and the prodigal son returneth. All he has to do is apologize for his wayward ways.
And that with massive fame, you have to be more careful about being misconstrued. Like I said earlier, 1% of people misunderstanding you doesn't matter with a small audience. It matters with a very large audience. With power comes responsibility. I still believe the things I say. I do not want to be a negative force for the world. I also understand that I am a man who's lived a very difficult, nuanced life, and I am capable of making nuanced points that may be misunderstood by teenagers. However, that can be said about anybody and everything. Every opinion online can be misunderstood by children. Trying to protect children from the internet is a very interesting subject in and of itself, because I would argue that 80% of the content on the internet can be negative or detrimental to a young mind that doesn't understand the world.
There you go. I'm glad he got that last dig in there, but do you watch it up to that point, or do you just go to the points where Piers Morgan is sort of running him up the flagpole? Is that where we go? Let me get to some of these real quick. Andrew Tate is the top dog at physical combat, but not so much in the debate. Intellectual ring like Rollo is. Teach him. Yes, unlearn the things you've learned. Top G. Okay. So what have we learned in all of this experience? And again, I apologize. It's going to be a really brief one. I'm going to have to get away from you guys here in just a moment. But I wanted to point out a few things here. Is when you go on the mainstream, and Justin Waller, Sterling Cooper, myself even, I want you guys to hold my ass to my feet to the flames as well if I ever end up on this kind of stuff. One of the reasons why I turned down Dr. Phil in 2020 was exactly because of this. You go and shoot 3 hours worth of footage, and 43 minutes makes it actually on the actual show. And the 43 minutes, that seems like it's going to be indignation provoking content. And that's all these guys are about. That's all Crowder's about. That's all Tucker Carlson is about. That's all Piers Morgan is about.